right, everyone. You are listening to Bridging the Gap on the Jersey First TV network. I'm AJ Malillo, and
I'm Stephen Rombolo.
and this is Bridging the Gap. It's another episode. It's another week, and I almost just muted Steven by accident, but I unmuted him right in time.
Censorship? Left
Yeah,
censorship?
big censorship guy. You know that about me, Steven. I'm probably the biggest anti-censor guy in the biz, honestly.
I was going to say furthest thing from it.
But let's see. I feel like we haven't been here in a while. We did this last week though, but it feels like
Yeah,
much longer.
it's been a long week.
It has
It's
been
been
a
a
long
really
week.
long week.
Yeah, I've started back up kind of in school. We still haven't gotten our grades back, which is kind of crazy because we start
Criminal.
next semester officially on Tuesday. I have to start applying to internships. I don't have grades to apply to internships. And most of these internships, right, you have to apply like by February if you're going to have any chance of getting anything for the summer. So if you can see, there's a little bit of tension and stress there, but we're making our way through.
As you do. As you do.
The only way. Steven, how are you? What's your week been like?
Um, I mean, the week's been watching my Packers get knocked out of playoff contention in a really sad what might be last game for the GOAT Aaron Rodgers. So that was a tough pill to swallow on Sunday. I had a little bit of a sickness. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I'm a little bit, you know, but we overcome, we conquer that. Good news, personal news. I got a little membership at a local gym that I've been trying to go to for a long time. Free membership for a few months.
Nice.
So I've been enjoying the change of scenery there. They have a sauna. I've been really getting into the sauna. So my new PRs that I've been shooting for are not any weights, but it's time in the sauna. And I got to tell you, yesterday I did a crazy one. The sauna was set to about 181 degrees, which is
It's pretty hot.
pretty hot. I went 30 minutes straight, no
Oof.
breaks.
That's
It
crazy.
was euphoric. It was a crazy feeling.
That's the adjective you're going with. Not torturous or
Well,
brutal.
okay, I'll say this much. It was euphoric once you stepped out of the sauna.
Right.
About minute 20, when like you're 2/3 of the way there, is when the real mental battle starts. Because you could do 20 minutes of just about anything, I would argue. And right after you tick over that 20 is when the sweat really starts like puddling and it's getting a little bit tough to breathe. And you're getting a little like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it out of here. Somebody's going to have to drag me out, kind of thing. Um, and I'll tell you what, I would love to do a podcast someday in like a public gym sauna because people just will talk about anything in there. It is like there is no limits, no rules in the sauna. It's crazy the things that I've been hearing.
Well, I would imagine. I'm just a bunch of guys just sweating. Just guys being dudes, you know?
Just guys being dudes, yeah. But aside from that, work, reading, and that's about it.
Yeah, I did want to hear really quickly about the reading. How's that going? How are you looking so far through the book? We don't have to talk about the book yet, but how's your tracking?
I'd say I don't know how many chapters it is. I don't even have it up here with me, but I've cracked like 2.5 chapters. They're pretty long.
Okay.
It's
Fair.
a lot denser than I expected it to be. Like I figured this would be kind of like I'm gonna say mid casual read, like, but it requires some serious attention. There's some hard numbers in there, and the numbers are important to the points that are being made in the book. So it's not stuff that's worth glossing over. But I'm
Fair.
really enjoying it so far, changing my perspective on a lot of things.
Fair. Fair. Good stuff.
And
Good stuff.
you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just under halfway through. But I did get the audiobook. There's a really nice app called
Ooh,
Libby. I don't know if you've heard of this, Steven.
no.
Basically, it's an app that you get for like digital books and audiobooks through the library. So like you're renting it through the library, so you don't have to pay. So you just hook up your library account. And so I got the audio version through the library, and I've been reading it on my Kindle. So that should help me go through it because it is long. It's about almost 700 pages. I think it's like
Ooh,
650. I'm around the 300 mark. So
that's nuts.
Yeah, so it should be easier. I can do it on the commute, listen to the book.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
good stuff.
but yeah, so in a couple of weeks we'll talk about our books. I just wanted to give a little bit of an update there. Um, and then before we get really deep into the story that we're going to be talking about today, I think that it would be appropriate to just plug our social medias really quick. Our TikTok, we just started, our
Yes.
Instagram Reels, um, and our Twitter. So follow us there. Find us at Bridging the Gap J1ST on pretty much everything.
Yep.
And so check that out. Go give us a follow. Go check out our videos. Lots of fun. We're going to be putting out some other content over there as well. So stay tuned for that. But let's get into our story, Stephen. What do you say?
I I say that we're talking about a book club, and maybe the state of New Jersey needs to really push some book clubs because we're going to talk about some staggering numbers right now.
Yeah, we certainly are. So the story, it's coming out of NJ.com, and it was written by Tina Kelly over there, and it's about how New Jersey School Board learns of test results, mental health aid, and a volunteer shortage. And basically, what these test results were saying, which the test is the New Jersey Student Learning Assessments, the NJSLA, and what it tells us
The
is that
Gisla.
the NJSLA, right? What it
Gisla.
tells us is that English and language arts statewide, 54.6% of students needed some or strong support, with fifth, ninth, and 10th graders testing the highest, and the lowest testing uh, downward trends between. There was a downward trend overall, though, rather, over the last 2 years between the last time the test was taken and this past time. Only in fourth grade did the percentage of students needing the most support wind up declining. So in every other grade that was tested, most students needed support. And on top of that, a lot of students needed strong support on English and language arts. The numbers for math are even worse. So 71.7%, nearly three-fourths of students needed some or strong support in math, but most of them performed better than the last time they took it, thankfully. The state didn't release the test score school by school. They only released it kind of broadly. And it seems that there's going to be $14 million in federal funding for the school-based mental health services grant, which will add more psychologists, counselors, and social workers to the schools that are in the most need. That's some other things that they talked about. But and it's an interesting article. They talk a lot about some things that and policies that are going to try and hopefully help the students going forward. But I don't know. Maybe it's a bit insensitive of me to say this. Like,
Uh
yes,
oh.
students should have that mental health support backing, but maybe some more funding should go to actually teaching our students math and English. I don't know. Maybe a little bit less, for just supporting mental health, and a little bit more for supporting being able to think about things. Like, I just think it's ridiculous that in the United States of America, where English is our primary language, over half of our students have a difficult time with English.
So I can say this much. I think the numbers, I'm looking at them right now, 54.6 for English and language arts and the 71.7 for math. As staggering of a number as that is, didn't really surprise me. I know that's a subject that a lot of students struggle with, myself included. Um, and I was reading this article and I was kind of in the same position as you, AJ. I was like, how do we fix this? Because as you said, the article jumps then to mention this $14 million in federal grants that, deals with increasing the number of psychologists, counselors, social workers available to students in these schools, whatever it may be. And then the last thing that they mentioned, which I wanted to touch on before I get to the point, was the volunteers. that they were expecting about 5,000 volunteers between individuals and organizations to come work as tutors, success coaches, and post secondary school advisors, which are all very important positions if we're trying to create an environment that supports student success, right? Uh, the state only reported that they had about 330 volunteers between organizations and individuals. So I would say they fell quite short of the 5,000 mark, right? So I think as I was processing all
And
this
you're not
information,
that big of a math guy or anything.
no, I'm definitely in that 71, whatever it was, 71.7%. But I was thinking about all these things, and this seems like the story of New Jersey. But I was like, why does nobody want to be involved with teaching and education in this state? Like, I feel like you always, year in and year out, have some kind of controversy about schools, teachers, teacher salaries, all of these things. And I would argue that these numbers, as disappointing as they are undoubtedly a reflection of what appears to be a really broken school system. As much money as we're willing to put into these things, there's no reason for students to be performing so poorly, right? If we're going to put $14 million from the federal government and the state's going to match up to $1 million a year, I believe is what the article said, we're creating a culture of support. We're creating a culture where these students have access to these secondary and even tertiary individuals to help them succeed, help them get the tools necessary. And these numbers aren't getting any better unless you're in the fourth grade, of course. Then for some reason you've unlocked the magic superpower to perform better on the tests.
Maybe
So
we should just have some sort of seminar where all of the fourth grade teachers in the state tell all the other teachers what's making
what
them
they're
so
doing,
successful. Right.
right? So it's a really interesting issue because I'm sitting here and I'm like, students, is the issue with student support? I don't think so. Is it with curriculum? Maybe. Is it with the standardized test? Do standardized tests work as viable metrics to, consider whether or not students are performing the way that we need them to perform? And is this data skewed at by any factor of the recent few years of remote online learning?
Well,
There's
I would
so
say
much.
that they're not skewed. Like, I wouldn't use the word skewed. I would use the
Are
word
they affected?
they are the product of it.
Okay.
Like, I didn't look into this, and maybe, we can find these numbers for, a later date, but I want to know what Florida and Texas schools are, because I'm pretty sure, and I don't have the numbers offhand, but I am pretty sure that those schools aren't seeing the same issues that these heavy lockdown states are. And now you're hearing that they're going to be masking students again coming back from break in a lot of schools in New Jersey. And it's like, okay, you already have a problem teaching kids English and math, and now you're going to reintroduce masking, which doesn't help anything, as we all know. And then it's like, oh, wait, I wonder why we need more mental health and psychologists. Maybe it's because you locked these kids down for the last 2.5 years, and now you're telling them they have to come back. And what are they? They're all afraid of the germs. And then you have all of the teachers and these teachers unions that said, oh, we can't go back, it's affecting our health. Like we're at risk, which they weren't, but they said they were at risk. And it's like, okay, so now let's get this all straight here. You took kids out of the classroom. When they got back, you forced them to wear masks. Their teachers told them that the students, were the reason that they couldn't come back to school because the students were carrying a disease that could kill their teachers. That's not going to have any negative mental effect on them as it
No.
is. Plus, you have all of this pushing back, like literally forcing kids into using technology and social media more to contact each other, which doesn't cause any mental health issues, as we already know, because you're taking away their only space for social interaction on a regular basis by saying, what? If you talk to each other in person, you can die. It's almost like it's all a big circle and nobody really, I wouldn't say nobody, there's plenty of people, but the people that say it, the people that point out these problems, what are they? Well, ask the Joe Biden DOJ, Stephen. They're domestic terrorists if parents go to school boards to point out all of the issues. And you're right, it has something to do with the curriculum too. Because what's in the curriculum? The curriculum is make sure that we push as much of our ideology on these children as we possibly can, because you can't have a basic math problem without adding in random things about gender and sexual orientation, right? You can't do that. Because we have to be as inclusive as possible. And look, personally, I am a young man of Generation Z. I don't care about people's sexuality. I really, genuinely do not care, even remotely. What you do in your bedroom is what you do in your bedroom. But math doesn't have to be imbued with things like this. But they is consistently. And if you don't believe me, there's millions of stories. Just go search on Google and you'll find them. But the overall overarching point that I want to make is it's so obvious where these problems lie. It's so obvious. And they're going to spit money at it, right? They're going to think that's how we fix this. It's like, no. No, more money is not how you fix this. Cuz what are we using that money for? We're not using that money for anything except for, just kind of cosmetic fixes to the problems, I'll say. The thing like buying makeup for the problem. But you can't put lipstick on a pig. Like
All right. I think important to note on this entire little soliloquy you went on, also included in the article is the fact that this meeting where they discussed all of these things happened virtually, despite requests from education advocates across the state to have these meetings at least be able to be attended to in person.
it's a lot easier to mute somebody on Zoom.
You almost did it to me to start.
Right.
So I think in a very roundabout way, what I'm trying to get at is I don't think that you've said anything incorrect. I agree that there are these repercussions that exist as a result of taking students out of the classroom, stoking this kind of fear. When it comes to inclusivity and math problems, I haven't seen a textbook or a worksheet, so I'm not going to say anything about that. But I think that these numbers, as shocking as they are, again, we're talking 54.6% of students needing some or strong support in English and 71.7 for the same in math. I'm torn between my opinion on, are these the product of these COVID regulations, the stoking of the fear, the taking kids out of the classroom? Is it curriculum? Is it both of these things? And as important as this data is, I think that we would have been much better served as a general public who's interested in these things by knowing exactly how certain school regions tested in these things. Because, like you said, we don't have the data on hand right now for other states, but we can look at how different regional districts operated in COVID.
But we can't even do that because we're not getting school-to-school data.
I was going to get there. I was going to say, but we can't even do that. So we're left to kind of sit here and get these really big, really staggering numbers that are really disappointing for the taxpayers who put money into an education system that is supposed to prepare the next generation of students.
A lot of money in the state.
A lot of money. And we get crumbs worth of data to try and figure out what is wrong. And it's not fair. And I think that we should sort of, lead the charge on requesting and making a little bit of noise about getting real data. The only way that we're going to fix a problem like this is if we can know what the problem is, right? Like we're just kind of seeing symptoms. We need to know what the disease is. And listen, if it comes back that one district had students going back sooner than the other and they have better test results, I don't know. What do you make of that? You know what I mean? So, not to mention, like I said, these things are happening online. It's easy to kind of like put a number out, be like, ugh, this is all we can give you. Figure it out by, this we're talking about education, we're talking about our taxpayer dollars, we're talking about our children, and this is not a fair or even remotely democratic way to go about this. And you're left with New Jerseyans scratching their heads over a really big issue.
Yeah, I mean the biggest issue, right? And it's like how what it, people are pulling their kids out of public schools. They're homeschooling kids in droves. They're even pulling kids out of private schools because they're not really trusted. And it's like you're left wondering why. It's like these public schools, they don't understand that you're gonna give your kids a lesser education. It's like, no, no. Look at consistently homeschooled students are doing better on things like this. There are tests. There are numbers out there and tests out there that are proving this, that homeschool students are doing better. And Stephen, how many times have I said it? I'm a product of a public education. I went through literally all public schools. The first private school that I've ever attended, except maybe pre-K, but I don't think there are public pre-Ks. Maybe there are. But the only private school I've ever attended is the one I'm currently in law school. Okay? I'm a product of a public education and I'm proud of it. Very proud of it. Very
A
proud
New
of the
Jersey
education I
public
received.
education.
Yes, through graduate school, New Jersey education, right?
As am I.
Except for kindergarten, that was New York, but still.
Ah,
Uh, but my point is, like, there is a reason parents feel like the schools are failing them and their students, and it's not unvalid. It's completely valid because our schools have failed our students. It's time to pick up the pieces. It's time to grow up and realize that you were wrong. You did something bad and wrong. Apologize and let's move on.
so let me ask you this in the brief amount of time that we have, because the issue with solving this problem is that school doesn't stop, right? So our children were never fully taken out of school. When they were not in a building, they were in a virtual classroom, right? Let's say your child is stuck now and COVID started, they were in the 6th grade, and now all of a sudden they're in high school and they got 2.5, almost 3 years of a subpar education. How do we pick up the pieces there? How do we pick up the pieces for the kids that got their last 2 years of high school where you're learning these fundamental skills, right? I see you shaking your head, and that's it, when you say we failed our students, like it's not like a we got a D and like we just kind of missed the mark. It's we got a 0 because we have kids who are entering the world, entering college, entering the workforce, who are inadequately prepared because of these, albeit unpredictable circumstances, but frankly are the result of poor decision making.
Unpredictable circumstances, completely predictable outcomes. Everybody knew it. Nobody was just like, no, this isn't new. This wasn't shocking. And also, and you're completely right. And I said, maybe we should apologize and move on. And actually, sorry doesn't fix the lamp, Steven.
No.
Like, these kids, I don't know how to fix it. Okay. I don't know how to fix the 3 years that these kids lost. I don't know if there's a way you can. And that's the worst part of it all. That's the worst part of it all. Maybe, the first thing that came to mind is maybe get rid of a summer break. But like, how popular is that going to be? Maybe 3 years where
That's
you can't go to summer, you got to go to summer school.
that's a losing platform
Right.
if I've ever
Yes.
heard one.
It's a losing platform. I know. But maybe that's about the best I can think of.
But that's the problem, right? We're at the tail end of this thing. We're now seeing what, like you said, we all knew was going to be the outcome. These disappointing test results, a school system that's failed our students, and we are left with no viable resolution. And the government is doing nothing, like you said, except for throwing money at an issue that money can't fix.
Right.
Unfortunately, you can't buy back time. You can't pull these kids, out of their sophomore year of high school and be like, sorry, you got to go back to 8th grade because we forgot some things. That's not real. That's not going to work. And it seems like New Jersey, for the next few generations, is in a lot of trouble with our students and how they're going to perform once they leave our school system. And that is
Right.
not something that we should be proud of.
Yeah, and it's not just New Jersey. It's New Jersey and New York and California and all of the school systems that did the same thing. And you'll see states like Florida take off. You'll see states like Texas take off because they didn't do it. And look, it's a it's your classic Humpty Dumpty sitch. Let's bring you back to pre-K, right? Humpty Dumpty, he sat on the wall.
Public or private pre-K?
Either way, Humpty Dumpty, he had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. It's like, there's no putting this back together. The genie's out the bottle. The egg is cracked. You failed. The best you could do is do better moving forward. Try and make sure it doesn't happen again. And if they haven't learned their lesson. And you know why I can tell they haven't learned their lesson? Because we come back in 2023 and you're trying to tell me that masking is going to do anything? The CDC already said that it's not going to do anything multiple times over, right? Who do you believe now? Because now you're not believing the CDC. You had them to fall back on. Well, you don't have them anymore. You didn't learn anything. It's a power trip. It always is, always will be. Steven, I'll give you the last word, but we've pretty much ran out of time here.
I think I've said everything that I can say. I want my final piece to be as a product, lifetime product of New Jersey public schools. I'm disappointed, and the promise to do better means nothing until I see tactical effort to do that.
Yep.
Be better.
I agree.
Be better.
That being said, look, I think that this week the other shows are tackling education as well. At least one of the other two shows on Jersey First TV is tackling education, so stay tuned for that. Well, actually, by the time this episode comes out, I think that one already did. So if you didn't, go catch that one. I think it's Elizabeth's show that I know for sure is doing education. I'm not sure if
the Nader narrative.
Yes, I'm not sure if our other show is doing it as well. But that being said, it's a perfect opportunity to subscribe to Jersey First TV, catch all of the episodes that you missed, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, the little notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. If not, if you're on Vimeo, then definitely subscribe to us. And then go check out the Jersey First website, jerseyfirst.org. Sign up for the pledge, sign up for the newsletter, get your name in there, get active. And Jersey First does a lot with education. I was a Jersey First intern a couple summers ago, and they do so much work with education. So if education is something you're passionate about, if you're a parent, if you're a student, get involved with Jersey First because they are people fighting for you. They are here to advocate on your behalf as a student, as a parent. So get involved and get ready for the fight because I'd say there's no bigger fight in our country than the future of our country, which is our education. So this is where the fight is now. And put up your dukes. All right, guys, I'm AJ Malillo.
I'm Steve Rombolo.
And this was Bridging the Gap. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll catch you all next week.